this goes back to a conversation we've had over and over again. When you decide to buy that used car and it is your dream car, have an honest conversation with your mechanic before you put any money on the table about how much it's going to cost to repair things that are likely to go. Because often people unload these vehicles when they start to realize, oh, my air suspension's starting to act up a little bit. I better get rid of this before it's an issue, and let the other person deal with it in a couple of years' time.
Yeah. And that's anyone that's had a Range Rover, that model, that's owned it for 4 years will have done air suspension work on it. Doesn't matter when they bought it, when they owned it, they will have done air suspension work on it, maybe more than once, probably twice at least. So they're in a position then when they can, like you say, well, I know in about 6 to 8 months I'm going to have a problem with my air suspension again. It's due. Yeah. So I'll offload the car now while I can.
Yeah.
And that's fine, not really doing anything wrong.
No.
People buying cars should buy cars with their eyes open, and they should get all the help they can to inspect these cars before they buy them. Doesn't mean that we see a fault coming, but what it does mean is we can have the conversation and say, well, this is the car, perfectly fine now. However, from our experience, this is what it's going to cost you over the next 12 months if nothing goes wrong. This is potentially what's going to happen based on what we know goes wrong with these cars, and that's what that will cost you. And if you own the car for this amount of time, we can give you a rough ballpark on what you're going to spend. Whether people listen to that or not.
Yeah, well, that's it, right?
Yeah. So
I'd love to hear from folks who bought their dream cars, found this great used vehicle, and then not so long down the road, the repair costs started hitting in. And I mean, I live in that boat because I'm always repairing my vehicles.
Yeah.
When do you draw the line? And this is, 1,000 here, 1,000 there, 1,000 here, 1,000 there, until you add it up over the year, and you're kind of going, whoa, okay, hold on. For me, I balance it out looking at, okay, my repair costs, how do they hold up against if I went and had to get a loan to buy a new car, or if I leased a car
or rent the same car?
What's my rental rate going to be?
Yeah.
Because obviously I want to have something that's going to be nice. I mean, practical is not the issue. It's I want something I'm going to get into, unless it's just to get me here and there. Then anything goes. But really, we like to drive things.
The thing is, the cheapest rental is going to cost you realistically $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
On a long term.
So I sort of add up what my monthly rental would be, and kind of go, okay, how much have I spent on repairs this year? Same as a rental. Okay, I'm still good.
Yeah. And you've still got something at the end of it.
Yeah.
That you own. Yeah.
Exactly. And at least it puts a smile on my face. But but that's a decision you got to make, because you've also got the time that it's going to be down, and that headache. So
yeah. It's just, and it's only going to become more of a problem with people putting AI and stuff into their cars. I was looking at VW have just opened conversations with Rivian, and they've said they're going to put up to $5 billion into Rivian because they want, they like their software and their operating system for their electric vehicles. Ironically, or whatever you want to call it, VW shares fell because the shareholders were worried about expense.
Yeah.
And Rivian shares skyrocketed because it's Volkswagen on board. But, all the electronically controlled stuff, it's all right saying, well, it's AI and this, and how can you really have a cost associated? AI doesn't just appear. It doesn't just, it's run through electronics. It's run through control units. It's operated and operating systems that are basically wholly dependent on microchips and circuit boards and stuff that are becoming more and more scarce and therefore more and more expensive.
Big problems. You can imagine the day in the not so distant future when these precious metals are becoming more dear to buy, where we go back to old school. It's almost going to be a reverse, not because we want to go back to old school, but because we have to go back to old school.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I kind of like the idea of AI on a car, and there's a good and a bad to it, like with anything, I guess. But if it can be connected to the control systems of not just the infotainment and the sort of comfort system, convenience
Which
system.
almost never.
Yeah,
No one gets that right.
Yeah, if it can be connected to the management system, it will give people more of an understanding of, like, the amount of people that drive their car into us, and they say, well, you know, the overheating light came on, but I only have to go 15 minutes more. And it's like, face palm, you need an engine now, mate. Nice one. You know, it would have been a radiator hose and a bit of coolant, but now it's an engine because you've driven it. I'd like to think that AI will be sort of screaming, no, I'm now going to take over, and I'm going to cut 2 cylinders off, and I'm going to turn all your consumers off, and I'm going to make sure that you've got limited power, and I'm going to make sure you have to get to the side of the road.
Yeah, a true limp mode.
Yeah, and I like to think that's what they'll do. The only problem with that is the hacking side of it, and we've already got that problem. But with AI, can you really hack AI if it's actual intelligence? Can you really hack that? You can't. If something's intelligent, it's intelligent. You can, you know what I mean? You can't really. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about many things, and that's one of them. But so maybe that's from a mechanic's point of view, that's a positive in terms of what it'll help. It'll help the sort of layman. It'll help the layman understand more about how to look after the car properly. You won't just have a service light come on that you can ignore for after 10 seconds, it flashes and then goes off. You'll have an AI system that says you need to service your car because if you don't, this will happen, and it will limit your ability to use the vehicle.
And you know, even better, the AI is going to send right to your phone or put on the infotainment system the videos of what happens when you don't follow its instructions.
This is it.
Here you go.
Like warnings on a cigarette packet.
Yeah, here you go. Here's what's going to the repair that's going to be needed. Watch it.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think that's good. But the only thing with it is, you know, it's going to go into cars initially as a gimmick to sell them, just like electric handbrakes did, and just like all these other things.
I still don't like electric handbrakes.
There's going to be technical reasons that justify them being put on, but they're ultimately to sell cars are just a gimmick. But then it's going to become something that everybody needs. But then is it going to be like the electric handbrake where I was like, I wish I had a lever again because this is a nightmare. I'm sick of it breaking on me.
I don't know what DJ's got in this Camaro, but I'm thinking it's the foot press one.
It's actually, I think
it's got a handbrake.
Yeah,
I love it when you get into some of these American cars and it's a foot emergency brake, and the first time you get into one of those and someone doesn't know, it's like, well, how do I? I've watched people try. You know, you got to push it a little bit further, and it has a release.
Yeah, but some of them like on the Jeeps are push on, push off.
Yeah, I love
Some of them have got a handle to release. Yeah, and especially when you get in a manual and it's 4 pedals.
Oh man, I love those.
Yeah.
I love driving manual. I still love driving manual.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. That's if AI is going to go into cars, that's the end of a manual gearbox.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I think Porsche said this. I think this is the last manual they're building. I think it's the GT3 or whatever. Then after that, there's no more. Porsche.
Well,
like ultimate driver's car. They're not making manuals anymore, and you know. That's not an AI control, but it is a computer operating system control of how the vehicle's driven. And I think AI is just going to take it to the next level.
See, here's a good one. A time when I would have loved to have had AI and a little bit more of electronics in a car, driving in a very hilly area in a manual in a city that's full of hills.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to have that assist with the brake on the
but I didn't make driving tests easy in about 10 years time.
But I didn't have that, so all I'm worried about is I sure hope I don't burn out this clutch. And then you know, new to the car, and someone's parked right up, you know, someone's right behind me on the bumper, and I'm going, what are you doing? Like you can see me rolling.
Yeah.
And beads of sweat coming down.
Yeah.
Because and it's not even that you're going to hit the car. You just don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, you don't want to be that person
stalling it on the hill.
Yeah, stalled it. Everyone hears you cranking it over again. Yeah. But you know, like I think AI answers the problem with self-drive. AI answers a few
people are
problems with
backing
that.
off on this. Yeah, autonomous driving was this thing, and now they're wheeling back.
I think AI answers a few of those problems that they've got. The only problem with it then is the sort of self-drive problem before that I had was everyone has to have it or no one has to have it.
Right. I'm still in that boat.
You can't, because you cannot predict what a human's going to do.
No.
But the AI, but then again, AI is
passive AI. It overrides you.
Yeah, AI might get smarter and smarter and realize that humans are just a parasite and just start driving them off cliffs. You don't know, do you?
You never know. You never know.
We've all seen Terminator.
We've seen way too many movies. This is the problem.
But like, it's from our point of view in terms of a garage, it's going to be nice to have that interface where my diagnostics might be through ChatGPT then, so it'll be like speak to.
Why wouldn't it be like? Why I keep thinking, why isn't Borgenbeck coming up with a diagnostic tool that
people have, horses for courses and stuff, but I've seen it's a little bit different with machines, but the amount of when you look into AI, the amount of things that you see where doctors and vets have had issues with diagnosis through interpreting. By the time you can ask Dr. Jenner about this, but by the time you've done maybe 7 or 8 different tests on somebody to try and figure out an illness, how do you put that information in front of just one set of doctors' eyes and figure it out? Well, you give it to AI, and they come back and say they've just had too much sugar.
AI is great at patterns. And so this is, again, with diagnostics. Someone like, let's take Volkswagen again, or Nissan or Toyota. You load in every single one of your manuals for the Corolla.
Yeah.
You now load in all of the information you've ever had on errors with Corollas, things that have got broken, things that haven't worked. You load it all in, and you create simply that data library on the Corolla. And then you start asking questions.
Yeah.
And the AI, that's what AI is good at. Because it's now it's learned off that library of data, and you just have all these separate AIs for every vehicle that have everything that's ever happened to that vehicle in it. And you're now looking at what is the course of action? How can I fix this? What's the usual?
I mean, from a manufacturer's point of view,
they must be doing this.
From a dealer's point of view, they're going to know that a car's due for service. They're going to know that the AI is going to get it in. The AI can book it in. You can book it through the screen. Then it's going to be all the data logs sent directly from the vehicle to the dealer. So when it arrives, it's like, Glenn, you've got a Golf there for a service, but it's also got a fault with the coil on cylinder 3, and it's got an issue with the rear right wheel speed sensor. I don't know if it's a flat tire or if there's a problem with bearing play. It's also got this fault. It needs this software update. All that's going to be there. It's going to make for a lot more efficiency improvements.
Well, and you're going to now have to have more data wranglers at a dealer who are looking at all this stuff and making sense of it, because the service manager, he doesn't have the time to do it.
No. Don't have time to do anything.
You're going to have another 3 people working there who are now analyzing data from everyone's vehicles, going, we got to get in touch with this guy.
I think the big thing is going to be, is everything been done and not missed? But then, again, AI can point that out.
Yeah.
If you've not addressed something that the AI's picked up, then it's going to point that out to you. And that again, makes for much greater efficiencies. The only problem with it, and it's not necessarily a problem if things do stay open source. Obviously Elon Musk and OpenAI have had their disagreements after he put all that money in. Is it $50 billion he put in? And they agreed to make it open source, and now they've kind of made it closed source, and he's not cool with it. But if it stays open source, then it won't be too expensive. But if it does start to become closed, then it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the right to repair bill in North America, because we couldn't afford, I couldn't afford any kind of expensive AI operating system or diagnostic tools to diagnose new cars that have that on, because I just couldn't afford it right now. Who knows in 5-10 years what the cost will be, but if it stays closed, it could be another way for manufacturers to get back their advantage again in terms of dealership servicing and repairs. So
maybe we just, again, we hate throwing ideas out there, but this sounds to me like a small and medium-sized business AI opportunity, in that coming into an organization like yours, you've obviously got all of the repair data from all your cars. So it's not that you're selling it. You've got your own API that's using the engines from OpenAI or whoever. You're putting all your data into it for you, so that you can start making, so you can start looking at the trends
Yeah.
What are the trends? When do I need to have more people? When do I need to have less? And I think in service industry in general, whether you're in a we will fix it, home repair and improvement situation, whether you're in a car situation, whether you're in a medical situation, you can now start spotting trends and using the tool to help you to see things before they're going to come.
Yeah.
And then in your case, once those things are in here, you can start feeding it questions. Okay, these are the things that are happening. What are, I've got a Jeep Wrangler in for this door handle issue. This is the year. This is the history of the vehicle. What other things are likely to be non-visible to me at this time that I should probably look at?
Yeah.
And based on having the service manuals potentially inloaded, but all of the information from the shop, because that's going to give you environment-specific data, that could be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the important things for the motor trade is going to be how automated that process is, or not. Because if it's a fully automated process, nothing really changes training wise.
No.
All you're doing is you're having an extra electronic person. As a mechanic, you've got a service manager telling you what to do, and you've got a controller telling you what to do, and a foreman telling you what to do. Now you're going to have a computer shouting at you as well.
Yeah, no.
But if it becomes a point where...
It needs to be a tool, not a replacement.
Yeah, if it becomes a point where a mechanic has to interpret that data, then there's kind of no point of having the AI, because you're then going to have to train the technicians on data processing, and that's a wholly different skill set to getting your hands dirty and fixing stuff, and that wouldn't necessarily suit everybody. So I think it's going to be a matter of throwing things at technicians. The problem, from my point of view, who's never worked with AI, is that I've been down, up the garden path and chasing my tail based on a diagnostic tool and a test plan that it's put me on. And it's taken me completely the wrong way because it's had data that it's not relevant.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It's not going to fix everything.
Yeah,
but the real challenge is, and you've got exactly the challenge that AI would face is the same one as a diagnostic tool. Is you trust the darn thing.
Yeah.
As soon as you outright trust it, that's when you get the mistake.
I can tell you from VW experience that we could not submit a warranty claim on anything, whether that's paint damage, rust on the body, radio not working, wheel bearing, gearbox fault, engine fault. We could not submit a warranty claim on anything without a full diagnostic log.
Yeah.
And that was because they had to make sure, first of all, that the car was with us. They knew it was if we plugged it in and we'd read it. But also then they can read all the data to see how the vehicle's been used, if it's missed a service, etc., etc. If it's been over its maximum speed, if it's had a problem with, if it's had any aftermarket tuning done or anything like that. So we had to submit the diagnostic logs for everything. And, that meant that if I scanned through all the control units and a fault came up, even if it wasn't related to what I'd had on the warranty claim, I'd have to submit the warranty claim, then I'd have to go back in and make sure that I'd then processed any of those other faults. And sometimes they'd take you to test plans, and you'd spend 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours sometimes doing it.
And that's just increasing. That's increasing the cost on that repair. That's your hourly going up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So these are the.
It's finding the balance. It's figuring out how to. It's almost figuring out how to drop the AI into the system that currently exists without outright disrupting the system, but enhancing the system.
You see, a human is going to have instinct.
Yeah.
So, there was a few times when a car would come in, and it'd be a Polo, for example, that had been driven by an older customer, where we knew that all that would have happened is they drive to the shops and back. They don't even get the engine to temperature. This is the longest drive it's had coming in for service. Invariably, we'd have picked it up. So, it's just one of those things where you'd get a fault for voltage issues across all the modules, and you'd be like, that's just because they don't drive it. The battery's going flat, and that's fine. Ignore it. Now, AI is not going to do that.
No. But AI is not also going to think, you're not driving it, and it's not going to have.
And even if it does, though, it's got to be programmed. It's got to be operated or encouraged to operate in a way that we can't take a risk.
Right.
Because if we let that car go out with a voltage error and then the airbag goes off on the drive, Whereas a technician, you can say with common sense, that's why. I can ignore that.
Yeah.
I'll get on to my next job.
That's what AI doesn't have. It
Erase
doesn't have
the
common
fault.
sense.
Yeah.
It only has the sense that's been programmed into it.
Yeah.
We had the same one with the Jeep right in here today with the handle.
Yeah.
And it, DJ's looking at it, and the item, the little clip has to be in place for this wire, this cable to stick in, and it's slipping out.
Yeah.
So what can we do? Well, we need to get a new handle. Are we going to get it today? No. But so how do we make this work? Because it's not. We can't glue it because it's got to move. Okay, well we'll tie wrap it, and then we'll put a little bit of glue on the tie wrap so it stays in place, and there we go. But is AI going to tell me that? Probably not.
I mean, the only thing, well, the only thing with AI, and you can see it, we don't need to mention it, but you can go online and look at all these debacles with Google's AI and some of the stupid pictures they were producing for certain prompts about certain non-favorable groups from the past, but they seem to have agendas, right? They seem to, and that's because they're ultimately just absorbing information that they can collate from what's given to them, but also from the internet. They're basically just self-learning chatbots that are just sucking everything in from on the internet and figuring out what's legit and not, and then trying to give you the most measured response. But, I don't see, and I don't understand enough about it, so someone could just sort of shoot me down, which would be great if they did, but AI to me seems to be there's an AI. There is AI and it works how it works. So if you have OpenAI and ChatGPT-4, if you use that on the car and you use that for your diagnostics off the car and you use that for your customer service, which is going to happen, there will be AI prompts for get your car serviced. This is what we've done. This is what's needed. This is why. This is the cost. You've got all those things. That's fine. But if they all operate on the same principles, that's not going to work. So, for example, your car with the door handle. An AI, we've just said, from a customer service point of view, DJ's saying to you, look, James, we can't get the handle, but we can do a fix on it for now. And it might last for a while, and then we'll change the handle next time you're in. AI is not going to have that. AI is either going to be, the handle's broken, so 1 + 1 is 2, handle broken, new handle.
Yeah.
Because the AI is not hands-on, it's never going to fix it. So you can, but will it, if enough of those things happen, have that understanding of technicians? So the technical AI says there's a problem when the technician inputs the data that the door handle's broken. That AI creates a quotation for the door handle, which then goes to be sent to the customer through AI. Will that AI that's ultimately dealing with the customer be able to say, well, we've had this 7 or 8 times, and the last time we actually did a repair, go back to the initial one and say, can it be repaired, check with technician? Or will it just send a bill for $3,000 to a customer for them to say, you did my other Wrangler last week and you repaired it?
So I suspect the way we could make these things work is, and this is how is, and the problem is you've got to input the data. So does the technician have the time for all of their thinking? Because you've got to input, what was my thinking on this? Why did I go in this direction? Which it almost becomes like you're in an operating room with a recorder going all the time, and you're dictating your notes. I mean, there's notes on the invoice, but they're not every single move that the technician made. And that's the only way that I see at this time that the artificial intelligence system is going to work, is it has to have all the thinking over and over and over again so that it can give you, okay, here's top 3 things that you might want to do. And again, you might want to do, doesn't mean you're going to do them, but it might work at getting you a little bit faster out of the gate, but you're still going to have to employ your own ability to look and see and be able to pivot with the complexities of the situation.
I mean, if you want, basically what we're saying is if you're a mechanic and you don't want AI taking any part of your job, just don't give it any data.
Yeah.
Don't tell it anything.
Yeah.
Which is basically what the old master techs used to do where I used to work. They didn't tell you anything because they didn't want to lose their value.
Yeah.
So don't tell the AI anything.
Don't share it.
Don't tell it anything. Don't put any data in. Do your own thing and it'll never know.
Don't let it into your shop.
Yeah.
But
it's going to be, there's going to be that weird sort of transition where everything becomes super dependent on AI, and after 5 or 10 years when people have gotten over it's just another thing to go wrong, everything from that point is going to need it.
Yeah.
But then what's going to happen is everyone's going to have been left behind. And everyone that's been left behind are then going to have 10 years, 15 years, and all of a sudden be very, very much needed because all the people with their older cars that can't get them fixed anywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, we've just been talking at the start. We talked about how cars don't seem to be lasting as long now. So maybe there won't be that many classics, but there's going to be some super classics because the cars from the 60s and 70s are lasting.
Yeah. We'll see. And on that note, that's something to leave everyone to ponder. You know how to get a hold of us. Like us, share your comments, whether it be on YouTube, the James Casts is where you find the PowerWorks podcast, or if you're looking at Spotify, however you're getting us. You're listening to us live at 100.3. Doesn't matter. Comment. Let us know what's going on. It does matter how you're listening to us because we love that you're listening. But let us know. Give us your comments. Give us your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And that's what keeps the show going. Glenn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the PowerWorks Podcast.